It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, doesn't matter if you're intermediate, doesn't matter if you're Magnus Carlsen. Today, I am going to show you the best chess opening for every level. So, the best chess opening for beginners, the best chess opening for intermediates, and the best chess opening for advanced players or titled players. Alright, so without further ado, strap yourselves in and let's begin with the best opening for beginners. Now, when I say beginners, I mean anyone from the ratings of 100 to 1,000 looking to get higher rating. So, this is a no-brainer. If you're a beginner, you want to learn a solid opening that works every time, consistently. You can play the same thing every time and it just works out. Definitely go for the London system. Now, I will preface this by saying the London system is boring. Alright? You play the same thing every single game, but that's what makes it so good for beginners. So, if you're at that phase of chess where you just started, you want to like win some games, learn how everything works, the London system is a great place to start. So, it starts with d4, queen's pawn. And here, your opponent has many options, but it really doesn't matter what they play unless they play e5, which in that case, you just take it. Let's just say they play d5. The thing about the London system, no matter what they play, you're going to play a bishop here, and then let's say they develop. You're going to move your knight out. You're going to move that pawn. You're going to pin this knight. You're going to move that knight. And here you can, like, move your queen and castle long, or you can just castle normal. Like, you always get this same setup. Now, obviously, there's different ways to play it. Like, for example, instead of knight there, you could have gone knight here, and then, like, gone for something like this, and then maybe you could have gone for like an attack here. Like, there's different ways to play it, but overall, you always get a very similar position, and your opponent has very little counterplay. Like, defend your pawn, get this bishop out. This is a crucial bishop. This bishop isn't as important. You can trade it for like the opponent's knight if needed, because your dark square bishop is very weak in this opening because all your pawns are in dark squares. But your light squared bishop is a menace, so try to keep this guy alive. Just move him out, move your knight, castle, and again, overall, London, like, boring opening, yes, but if you want to win games, if you want to reach high elo, or if you want to just learn the basics of chess without having to memorize, like, long, complex openings, London system's the way to go, I'm telling you. Alright, now let me flip the board. We're going to talk about the best opening for black for beginners. Now, black is tricky because a lot of it depends on what your opponent plays. For example, I could say the Caro-Kann, which is, you know, this. But if your opponent plays d4, now I can't play Caro-Kann anymore. So it needs to be an opening that you can play against anything, really. And it has to be a good, simple opening. Alright? So, overall, I'd say the best for beginners. And I know this opening is very complicated at higher levels. Like, I know there's like hundreds of variations and whatnot. But at a beginner level, if you really simplify the opening, the King's Indian is a very good opening for beginners. So, here's what it comes down to, right? If your opponent plays anything, you move your knight out. Unless they play e4. If they play e4, you move this pawn first. Or even if, like, they do that, then you move your knight, and then they do this, then you move your pawn. Why? Because positions where they play here, let's say you play here, these positions are really annoying. Because then you have to move your knight somewhere, and then, like, they just get a big, strong center. So you want to avoid that. So that's why you move this pawn to prevent them from pushing. And then you get a position where, well, this is like different thing entirely. But you get a position where, like, let's say they develop naturally. You want to fianchetto this bishop, so you want to put this bishop on this square. It becomes a sniper down this diagonal. It becomes very powerful. And it's basically the London, but for black. Like, you always play the same thing. Like, Now you're going to take out this bishop. Now you're going to move the knight here. That's important. You don't move your knight here for this opening. You move your knight here because the idea is you want to go for an attack here. Obviously, it depends a lot on what your opponent plays as well, but in general, you move your knight here for the King's Indian. But yeah, the King's Indian is very similar to the London, where you just kind of play the same thing every game. Like, there's some variation in the move order, obviously, but this is the setup you want, like, most games. And this is the setup you're going to get most games. Because, like the London, King's Indian, very little counterplay. Most opponents don't know how to counter it, and it really doesn't have any counters if you play well. And before we continue to the intermediate openings, I'd like to make something very clear to all the beginners watching this. The opening isn't a free win, alright? Like, if you play your opening well, you're going to get a good position, but it doesn't guarantee that you'll win the game. So, someone could play a bad opening and still win the game, and someone could play a good opening and still lose the game. It's not all about the opening. You still need to win in the middle game or the end game. You still need to know tactics and all the different imbalances of the positions. You don't have to worry about that as much because you're a beginner, but just so you know, right, if you play the King's Indian, that doesn't guarantee you'll win. And if you play the London system, that doesn't guarantee you'll win. It all comes down to like how well you play the opening and the middle game and the end game. For the best intermediate opening, let me go back to white. This is where you need to learn a bit more theory, all right? Because this opening starts with e4. Here, your opponent can play a lot of things. They could play Scandinavian, d5. And then you need to know like how to play against the Scandinavian. Your opponent could play c6, Caro-Kann. Then you need to know how to play against the Caro-Kann. So, yeah, you need to learn a lot more theory and a lot more like of your opponent's tricks and your opponent's openings, so that you know how to play against them. But by now, if you're 1,000 to 1,600, which is the intermediate level, you should have gotten a good grip of that. So, anyway, this opening, your opponent's going to play e5. If they don't, then, you know, just play normal chess and try to play against their opening. But your opponent plays e5, attack their pawn. They're going to defend. Bishop c4. Now, if they move their knight out, they're attacking your pawn. Fried liver. This opening, I'm telling you guys right now, this opening, I was at 700. I started using it. I gained 600 rating points. This opening is so good at the beginner intermediate level. Like, oh my goodness. So many people harp with this. So, obviously, their pawn is being attacked. You're fighting a fork. So, they'll block it, obviously. So, here you take the pawn. They'll take with knight. And here you sacrifice your knight. Now, I know. It might seem overwhelming having to memorize all this, but it's worth it, trust me. You'll win so many games with this. They'll take your knight, and now check. You're attacking the knight with your queen, and you're attacking their king. Here, the best move is to play here, and then you put more pressure on the knight, and then, like, they might go for this, and then you castle, and you just play normal chess. They're completely losing here because their king is out in the open. There's just way too much pressure in their knight, so it's not an easy position for black at all. But oftentimes, people will play here, or then you take the knight, and you're fighting checkmate, and you're completely winning. Or they might even play here, which then you have this beautiful bishop checkmate. Bam! I'm telling you guys, I've won so many games with that checkmate. Like, it seems so simple, but so many people fall for it because they just don't know the fried liver. So, yeah, best opening for intermediates, no doubt in my mind about it. You're going to win so many games with this. Alright, now let's move on to the best opening for intermediates with the black pieces. Black is always trickier because you don't get the first move, so your opponent sort of decides what you're going to play. I'll give you 3 options. So if your opponent plays e4, you're going to play the Caro-Kann. There's 3 main variations to keep in mind. The exchange variation, which in this case you just play normal chess and just like develop your pieces and stuff and move your bishops out and you just play normal chess. There's the advanced variation, which here you're going to move your bishop out. they'll just develop normally. You want to move this pawn. Here's why you want to move the bishop first. If you move this pawn first, now your bishop is trapped. So you want to move the bishop first, and then you move this pawn. And doesn't really matter where your opponent plays. And this bishop is really weak in this opening. So, because look at how many pawns are in light squares, right? They all get in the way of your bishop. So, if you want to exchange this bishop for their knight, you can do that. Or if you want to like sacrifice it later on. But this bishop is the main thing you want to keep alive. This bishop is a god in this opening. This bishop is very powerful. Can traverse anywhere. All your pawns are in light squares, so the dark squared bishop has a really easy time moving across the field. Anyway, going on a tangent. You want to move this pawn now. And the whole point of this opening, they have two options. If they take, you take with bishop, and now you have like this massive, beautiful center. And if they don't take, they instead choose to, let's say, defend. You want to slowly apply pressure on that pawn for the rest of the game, and then slowly try to take it. That's the game plan behind the Caro-Kann advanced variation. You just want to put as much pressure on that pawn as possible, and you want to try to take it. Like, if you at any point, if you exchange your bishop for this knight, then your other knight could go here. And now he's attacking the pawn as well. So it's all about slowly adding more attackers to that pawn. Like, that pawn is your target. And that's how you play the advanced variation. Now, if they just defend with knight, this is probably the most boring variation. You just play normal chess, I guess. Like, what I like doing here is I like fianchettoing this bishop, so going like this. And this diagonal is very powerful. If they ever take, you just take back, and yeah, you just kind of play chess for this one. Oftentimes, your opponent will play the advanced variation, because it just looks better. Like, you know, they take a lot of control, seemingly. They take away some of your center control, I guess. So, oftentimes, your opponent will play it this way. And, again, move your bishop out. Then move this pawn. Then you can like slowly create attacks here. Slowly put pressure on this pawn. And that's the Caro-Kann. So there's also like the fantasy variation, which you won't see very often, but if you do see it, what I would do is just like play normal chess, develop your knight. If they push, now you're back to sort of a advanced Caro-Kann, so you can move your knight back, and now you reached the advanced Caro-Kann again. But the only difference is they have a pawn there, but it doesn't really matter. You're going to develop your bishop, and you're going to play the same thing, really. Alright, so that's the Caro-Kann. And that's what you're going to do if your opponent plays e4. Now, if your opponent plays d4, what I like doing is just playing e5. This works really well in intermediate levels, so they're going to take, obviously, because it's a free pawn. You're going to attack it, they're going to defend it. Now they're going to attack it with your queen. They're going to defend it more. The idea is, now you have this check. So you're attacking their king, you're attacking their bishop, and you're attacking their pawn on b2. So here they have two options, really. They can either let their bishop die, or they can move the bishop back and let the queen get in. And here you can just keep putting pressure, and they might try to do this, just go back. You have so much pressure here on their position, and they're completely losing. And if they don't defend the pawn, then you'll just take it, like, because they have no way to defend it, so you'll just win it back anyway. But chances are, they'll try to hold on to that pawn, and they'll fall for this check. So this opening is very, very good in intermediate levels, because nobody knows how to counter it. In fact, even Magnus Carlsen himself fell for it when he was, like, 1600. So, you know, very good opening. And now, finally, if your opponent doesn't play e4 or d4. Maybe they play f4. Maybe they play c4. Maybe they move a knight or something. Just play the King's Indian at that point. Like, because King's Indian, it's solid, it's strong, it's good against anything. Like, you always play the same thing. Like, I talk about this in my beginner segment, so you can go back to that if you want. But King's Indian is a very, very good opening. I know it's, like, super advanced and super, like, I know there's, like, hundreds of variations at the high level, but if you simplify it and if you really, like, you don't have to memorize the moves, you just have to understand the concepts. And if you really master those concepts, then you can play the King's Indian super well. Alright, now finally, let's move on to the best opening for advanced players. So, if you're in this level, your rating is above 1600, you're at a very high level of chess. Here, what I like to do for white is play c4, the English. Why? Because nobody knows how to play against the English. And even if they do, there's only like 3 variations you need to memorize, so you'll play very consistently. The way I like to play the English is I like to fianchetto this bishop like this. And the idea behind the English is to get as much control over the d5 square as possible. So, like, you also want to move your knight here to take control of that square. You want to move your bishop here to take control of that square. You want to get as much control over that square as possible so that your opponent can't play d5. If they ever play d5, you should be able to win the exchange. That's how this opening works. And then eventually, you're going to want to move this pawn. Oops. You're going to want to move this pawn. Normally, you would pin this knight, or you could even, like, go here. Or I've even seen some people go for, like, a double fianchetto. A lot of it depends on your playstyle. And whenever I play the English, I like to castle long just to throw my opponents off. And here you can just play chess, slowly, like, advance your pawns, move your knight out like this, and try to move your knight here. Like, the knight here is very strong in the English because it also controls d5. So, you know, this is how you play the English. Like, basically just get as much control over d5 as possible. So, your bishop controls d5, your knight controls d5. Eventually, your other knight will also control d5. So, yeah, this is how you play the English. And there's not a lot of counterplay, which is why the English is one of the best openings for advanced players. It's very consistent, and you don't have to memorize, like, hundreds of different variations to play it. You only need to memorize, like, 3. So, highly recommend the English. Let's move on to the best opening for advanced players with the black pieces. And then we finish this video off. So, now, the best opening for advanced players for the black pieces, y'all are going to hate me for saying this. I think it's also the King's Indian. Like, I don't care if I'm glazing. The King's Indian, bro, it's just too good. Like, because when you're an advanced player, right, your opponent can play pretty much anything. They could play, you know, f4, c4, e4, d4, and they know how to play it well. Because if they made it this far, then they know they're opening super well. So, why play into their hands? Why play against the Ruy Lopez when you can just play the King's Indian, right? You don't have to memorize the Ruy Lopez. You just have to play the King's Indian. You don't have to memorize the Queen's Gambit declined. You just have to play the King's Indian. The King's Indian works against anything, and that's why it's so good. So, I don't care if I'm glazing. Like, y'all can call me out in the comments. I don't really care. The King's Indian, man, it's just too good. Like, I don't care what you say. Literally one of the best openings in all of chess history. Like, if I had to pick one opening, King's Indian all the way. And, yeah. So, that was the best openings for every ELO rating. Doesn't matter if you're 100, 1,000, 2,000, Magnus, whatever. I hope you gained something from this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please press that like button, hit the subscribe button, man, because I've been doing YouTube for 2 years, and it's my dream to be able to, like, make a living off of chess, you know, because I love chess more than anything. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.